Please feel free. You can interrupt me. No such thing as interruptions. All right, so we good? We see my screen? Okay, perfect. And just in case, Rennie, my phone is right in front of me. Can you hit me on WhatsApp if the Wi-Fi goes out? Because I can't see the chat. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's do full width. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Move this. All right. So first things up is, like I said, we're going to do a digital course. The person who asked me this, they asked it in a way that was, I want to drop a digital course, which is cool, right? But at least for me with project planning, there's like a project plan of the project plans, you feel me? And so I think it's, for me personally, for my brain, like I get overwhelmed, like I said, very easily. And so I just got to take it step by step. And I kind of, to manage my anxiety and my stress, I just focus on the first part of it, and the rest doesn't even exist to me. So in regards to a digital course, and it's the same way you could look at it with a book. There's like the ideation, the development, and then the launch, right? Those are three very distinct, like very different tasks, very different pieces of the project. So ideation is, what is the book? What is it about? Where am I pulling my inspiration from for the course? Like just a rough outline, like what's the goal, right? What do I want people to take away from this? Why am I doing this? Because you got to know your why when you have a project or anything really for it to actually happen. And so that would be my part one. My part two would be the actual development of the book. And so writing it, how are you going to write it? When you're going to write it? What are your techniques? What's your sound? What's your tone? What's your voice? What are the modules of the course, right? How do you break down your course? What are the not freebies, but what are the extra pieces that you're going to, if you have a course, what are the templates that you're going to give them? What are the pieces that they can work with that are interactive to go with the course? Are you filming as part of the course? All of that stuff. And then the launch is the actual, maybe you're using Teachable, setting up Teachable, putting it into Teachable, uploading the modules with the book, confirming the publisher, working with the publisher to make sure everything is dropped on time. What's the rollout plan? What's the marketing? What are the admin tasks that needs to be done to drop this book? What's the promo? What's your budget? How much can you spend on ad spending? What's your word of mouth marketing plan? All those different pieces that have to do with the book actually, or the course launching and being sold for purchase, then that's its whole piece. And then in my brain, there are many pieces that come after that, right? With the course, like how you would have the affiliate marketing set up in the launch part. But if you had a course, then you would ideally have affiliates who are pushing the course with you, right? And you give them a cut. How does that work? How's that managed? Who's checking it every month? Who's doing the back end admin tasks? Who's checked for the book? Does a publisher send you a report every month? Who's responsible for what every month? How do you follow up about bookings? Like, what's that relationship look like? What's the long-term relationship look like? So there are still so many pieces to come. And so again, all that to say, think of the first big theme for the project that you're working on and just focus on that. And what you can do is you can give yourself, after you've outlined that project, that first piece of that project, the baby project of the project, you can say, I'll give myself 2 months for this first chunk. It depends on your timeline, right? I'll give myself 2 months for this chunk. And then you can set an alarm for 6 weeks later and say, on this day is when I'll project plan the next, baby project of the big project. And I like to do things like that. Honestly, even with life decisions, I do that. So like, maybe in July, I don't know if I want to stay in Mexico or I want to go somewhere else. And I'm like, oh, but do I or do I not? I don't really have time to be going back and forth on decisions like that when like, cool, it's a big deal, but it's not that serious. So I would set an alarm and say like, for May 7th, set a reminder and say, okay, on this day, I can figure out if I'm going to move or not. But until this day, I cannot think about it. And so I do the same thing with projects. And if I say I have 2 months for this, then in 6 weeks, I'll say, okay, on this day, I can project plan the next piece. And I can have a note or a Notions page where when something pops up in regards to that next chunk, then I can put it in that note But other than that, I can't sit there and strategize it. I can't brainstorm it. Like it doesn't exist because I got this to focus on right now. And that's because if you can eliminate the stress and really put in the work on that first piece, then you'll have your momentum, right? And that's all you need to really keep going is like, once you get it going, once you have your motivation, you see you're checking off tasks, you're like, okay, I got this. That's really the focus. Cause then you know that you can keep going. If you can plan the whole thing, it doesn't mean you're going to do it. So I focus on my motivation as well as the project plan, but really my motivation is most important because the project can't get done without it. So let's dive in. Oh, so to specify again, we're gonna do a digital course where we're gonna focus on the development. And I think I'm actually gonna put this down. Okay, so the next piece, so from there, you have your baby project, cool. Like we said, we're gonna do the digital course development. I do everything, you may have heard this before, I do everything in 3 chunks. So problems in my life, challenges, personal missions, professional missions, everything is done in 3 chunks. And those 3 chunks can be specific to you. Over time, you can figure out what yours are. Mine personally, I do everything like pre the thing, and then post the thing. Because I work very well with time and time works very well for me. I love math, I love numbers, even though time is a lie. It works well for my brain to conceptualize things in time. And so everything I do, so in this case, we're doing a digital course development, right? So it'll be pre-dev, dev, and then post-dev, right? Those are my 3 chunks. So if I was doing a project, grocery store shopping, I would have pre-shopping, shopping, post-shopping. Pre-shopping, you do the list, right? Shopping, you hopefully have, if you're like me, you have the list in order as the sections in the grocery store that you're gonna hit them, but we don't have to go that far. So then you have your shopping, you do your shopping, and then you have post-shopping, putting the groceries away, right? Everything you do can pretty much be divided into chunks. You just have to figure out what your chunks are. And these just happen to be mine. And it just works, it works very, very well for me because when anything arises, I just know that I already have a system, right? And that's pretty much what it is, because then you're training yourself to think about things in the same way. And it makes it easier for you because you're like, you keep that structure for your brain. So having cool. And let's do columns. Oops. Okay, pre-dev, dev, post-dev, and actually I'm a stickler for colors. I'm a very visual person, so I like to communicate things to myself in color. So red is like, yo, nah, you didn't start yet. Don't start working, because how can you start working if you don't even know what you're doing yet? Green is like, okay, cool, we outlined what we got to do. Actually, no, because that's yellow. That's like get in motion. And then green is finish up. Boom. Let's add a divider. So then though, before I even hop in here, we're gonna do checks for all of them. Is this big enough for you all? Do you want it a little bigger? Good, okay, good. We're gonna do a brain dump. Yeah, like I just have to. Yeah, I could sit here and like walk myself through the pre-dev and then, okay, what's next? But my brain isn't that orderly most of the time. And so because sometimes I can feel scattered or overwhelmed, it's like you're thinking of all the things that have to be done and then you get overwhelmed about like, oh my God, okay, I hope I remember that. I hope I remember that one. Oh, which category does that go in? So instead I just sit and I'm like, okay, everything that has to get done. So you can feel free, you can tell me on the mic because I can't see your chat. If you are going to develop a digital course, what do you have to do? For me, I know I need to do the course outline, identify the modules by theme, because now we already know from the first chunk, this imaginary chunk that we did, the ideation, We already know what the theme is. We know what we're trying to get across. We know what we want people to take away from this course. So now we can organize that into the actual course outline, what the modules are. For something like this, I would time block. What else? Schedule. And then I will record modules by day. See if I could piece that out. Create a system, milestones. And actually, it would be like a system or a tracker. In the same way, if you know, I love trackers. When I have projects like this, I still make trackers. In the same way I do a habit tracker for myself, I do a habit tracker with a project like this, because then you can really see, you can just like, if you're in your house and you have something, you can quickly walk by and see like, oh, I'm making progress. Oh, I have one. So, boom, actually, for Life Made Easy. So I have right now, I have ideas in green, next up in yellow, and then no, ASAP in green, next up in yellow, and ideas in red. And I love having this because again, it's like right there. And so I can walk by in the living room and say like, ooh, you're an icon because you're making progress. And that keeps my motivation going. So get creative. You can put the stickies on the wall. You can do by each module as you figure out the module names, right? You could have each module and then all the, like if it's module 3, you could have a sticky for module 3, and then it's a sticky for each like 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. And as you're done, you put it somewhere else on the wall. And then you see the sticky notes piling up in this other place. And you're like, yeah, like I'm killing it. So you want to, anything you can to keep your motivation going, you got to brainwash yourself to remind yourself that you're really getting things done. A checklist, it doesn't really get it done for me. And the big idea things. So what else? Tell me some things. If you were going to create a digital course, the actual development of the course, what do you need to do?
What platform you're going to use, right? Like, is it going to be on Zoom or something else?
Yep. And you could also do like, if you want it passive, you could do Demi, Coursera. Or your own website. Finalize pricing, right? Because this is something that I would actually do. I'm gonna put it over there right now so I don't forget. I would actually put finalized pricing in post dev because, and we'll clean this up in a second, because over here I would have some type of task where like Outlook brainstorm pricing or something like that. With my offerings, depending on what it is, but like, well, I know something this big, I'm doing a course myself. And so something this big, I would, in the beginning, create the price that I think it's worth for what I'm about to put into it. And then when I'm done, I would revisit that to make sure that it matches the amount of time that I put in creating this labor of love. What else?
A feedback form.
Oh, love it.
Back.
Actually, feedback collection, right? Because that needs to be a whole plan.
Mm-hmm.
We'll say form. Love it. It can be anything, big tasks, little tasks, medium tasks, something like, have someone do the course, right? To test it as a test. And then I just thought of like a testimonial plan, but this would be for the next chunk. We're gonna put it down here just so we don't forget, because I would then make another Notion page, and then I would outline that one. And again, I wouldn't actually go in and outline it. I would just have basically for those 6 weeks, when I said you would schedule in 6 weeks to start thinking about your next chunk, you would just have this page until those 6 weeks, so that whenever you're in the shower and you have an idea about that next project piece, you put it in there, and you're just, and then it feels so good because you're giving yourself time to really think about the project, and you're not rushing yourself to sit and map it all out. What else?
Are there copyright things that go into courses?
Love it. Well, I mean, in theory for a course, you know, are you writing the course? Or is a copy, you can have a copywriter write your course, right? And the same with
research, like, do you need to do any research on, like, I don't know, looking at other digital courses like the one you're trying to launch based on the theme or something like that?
love it. And actually, we can call that a competitor research. Competitor research, yeah. Gather inspo. Oh my gosh, for the actual course, if it's digital, everything digital has to have like a presentation, right? And so I would actually have something like a baby brand guide to keep the imagery consistent. And then with that, with the copywriter part, you know, what's the voice / tone of the copy? Okay.
The monetary investment.
Oh, love it. It's your investment. Let's say we have these for now. So then I just take these and then I categorize them. And so a baby brand guide, I would want this done. Let's change all of these though first. Into to-dos. Okay. I would want the brand guide to be done before I began, because if I'm making a course, and again, let's say it's by module, and then the modules have sub-modules or subsections. So there's section 3 and then 3.1, 3.2, cool. As I work on the course, technically, let's say I have Rennie as my like project manager while I'm doing the course content. Rennie could be coordinating with the graphic designer to complete the graphics, like the cover graphics of each module as I'm working. And so even something like that, actually, now that we say that, because this isn't actually, this is for if you had a project manager. We're kind of speaking about things as individuals if we had our own projects. But if you were a team, cool, you would have this list, but who's actually the one that's like making sure everyone's on their shit and checking things off? So from the team perspective, we're gonna think about that. And we'll address that at the end. So baby brand guy will be first. And then with that, I said tone, brainstorm pricing, that can go with competitor research. Actually, move it. Competitor research. So I actually, this testimonial plan, just from my brain thinking about the course launch, the testimonial plan technically could be in the next chunk. But for me, for my course, I would actually put the testimonial plan in pre-dev, because I would want to strategically figure out how to ask for feedback throughout the course. So I would want to have, you know, check-in points, check-in systems. Same with the book. If you wanted to have if you want to be modern, you could have, you know, if it's type of reflection, you could have something that says, you know, if you post about this or if you're reading this book, could you tag blah, 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 blah. And that's just a little quick note. And so if you had the testimonial plan outlined before you actually develop the course, then you could finagle little things like that in. You could have a little quiz and then be like, tell me, you know, what did you get? What were your results? Tag Made in America, and tell me what type of dreamer you are. Maybe I did like a dreamer quiz or something like that, right? So that's something to consider, but I would put mine right there. So I'm gonna say a testimonial plan for the course. Post dev is where I'm gonna put this one. doc to gather feedback. Considering like, I mean, this is kind of an aside, but, or a project manager thing. So if you were managing this type of project, or if this were your project that you were managing yourself, in this case of have someone do the course as a test, I like to have things like that, like this ready already, so that when they're ready to give feedback about the course, they can just do it as they go. So that means that you as a project manager or as a person who is outsourcing this task, you know your content the best, right? You know what questions you have really, you know what you want them to address. So set them up for success and create something like this that they can just fill in as they go, rather than them having to sit down, look at the project, figure out a system for them to give you this information. Just save both of you the time because you know the content the best, and give them something to work on, like to follow as they go through it. Same as if you had, how I said, Ready could be managing a graphic designer to make the module covers as we go. Then Ready, that means I know Ready, she's my type of brain. She would have a checklist of the modules and of the subsections, and she would check them off as the person, with the person as the graphics are done. Because you can say, okay, we have to get all these graphics done, but how do you know when you're done? You don't if you don't write it down. So set everyone else up for success and break these tasks down as much as you can. Gather inspo is actually ideation. So I'm not going to take that out. And then, nope, we put that in feedback collection plan. This would be the reminder for the next part, really. But it's kind of the same. It's kind of different. I'll leave it for the future, next chunk. Okay. Now, let's say you have a course, and in the first part, the ideation, you said, give me one sec. What's someone say? Oh, I'll miss you, Violet Lee. Oh, she already left anyway. Okay. Let's say in the ideation, you decided to have a guest component of your course. So maybe you're doing a fitness course or something, and you have a guest speaker who's a strength and conditioning coach, and they do a session. If in the first part you decided that you were going to have these guest speakers, then this is in the post step is when you would have to figure out a plan to gather their content, right? And this is why also we make things like baby brand guides. This is if you're approaching a project from a team perspective. Let's say you have this guest speaker and you want them to come in and film for part of your module, right? You want your filming to be consistent. In the same way with your copy, if this person was going to write something, you still would want the tone and the voice to be consistent. And that's why we make something like a baby brand guide for projects like these, because then everyone is on the same page. So for example, you're like, oh, but they're just going to write how they write and I write how I write. Cool, but maybe like me, I'm very playful with my language and the way I write my copy. And then what if the guest speaker comes in and they're writing all serious and I'm like, shit, I'm swearing in the copy, and then there's a super serious. That all could have been avoided if there was a brand guide to explain the voice and the tone. It's the same with how they film. Maybe this person is going to film a portion of, their workout, and your vibe is like very like, it's a white background. There are plants. There's like a Thai tapestry hanging, is very hippie life. And then they come in and they're in like a CrossFit box and it's just rigid and it's dark and they're like grunting. And so it just doesn't match up. And so there are many cases I've seen from working with small businesses and other people on projects where they're like, whatever, that's not important. And then later on, the shit doesn't flow together. And it's like that all could have been avoided if you spent like an hour max outlining a quick brand guide. So sometimes these little things can seem like a waste of time, but they save you time in the long run. And again, everyone gets set up for success. Pre-dep, I'm going to just say recording schedule. And then I'm going to say, Then for me, as I think about my course, I'm like, cool, if I batch record the modules in each module, I have like the same outfit, mad cute. This one's the final part of the pre-dev so that everything's finalized. And before you dive in, I'm going to explain more about that in a second. Course outline. Identify the modules by theme. We'll go under this. I'm going to put this under here. And actually recording schedule, I'll put under. What modules by day. Decide on a platform. That's going to be here. It's separate. Recording schedule, project management plan will be for the team. What's your investment? We're going to decide this now. Once we decide on the platform, we have the modules by day, filming schedule, and then cool, this part. I'm going to put that here. Actually, boom. We'll put that there. And then cool, these can go. So I'm going to leave this up here, but if I were a part of a team, if this were a team plan, I would put that here, and then next chunk it would be there. And we basically came up with all of our pre-dev, because then it's like, I mean, it's pretty much create the course and then like follow your tracker, your milestone tracker. I would do something like every Sunday, confirm your creation schedule. So I would time block like on my calendar. And then every Sunday, let's do like every Sunday. Ooh. And where do we say the monies? Do you need help? Here we go. I need new equipment or subscriptions. Okay, so that's pretty much it. There was something that I wanted to, this part I wanted to highlight. Create a system or tracker to track your milestones. In the beginning, okay, it's twofold. In my life as a whole, in my passion planner, I have a page called accomplishments, or I think it's called something like brag about yourself or something, but it's for accomplishments. And every time something like this, I'm definitely gonna put this in my accomplishments. I held a cute ass project planning masterclass on a Saturday, boom, life of my dreams. So I put that into the accomplishments so that at the end of the year, I can see it. The same thing with a project, especially with teams. I do that. Teams, especially, they need the morale. They need the boost. They got to be kept on track, especially at a time like this. If you're working on it by yourself, then it's easier. You can put it on a piece of paper. You can put it somewhere where it's visible, but you want to keep track of all the things that you're like, you have a big breakthrough about one of the modules or about a chapter in your book, write that accomplishment down. Because that's, again, when you're like, oh, those days where you don't feel like it, you can look back and you're like, oh, okay, I got this. And maybe you don't work that day, that's fine, but you still you remember who you are and that you're getting things done. With that though, is also, if you are working on a project and you do something like that, every time you put something, I put the date first, the date and then the milestone or the accomplishment. If you do that with a project, as you create similar projects, let's say you're doing a project plan for a website launch for website development. If you track when you hit your milestones, you're celebrated, but also when you have a similar project, you have a better grasp of your time, and then you can better time manage. And because when you start certain projects, like with the course, this is my first course, so I can say I want to finish this in 3 months, and my mind can say no one cares what you want, It's not happening in 3 months, and that's okay. But if, so then when I drop my next course, I know, okay, it's not really 3 months. I need about 6, because then you're tracking your milestones and you can see the dates and when you finish things to better manage your expectations, basically. And so that way you also get better at not disappointing yourself, but getting discouraged. Because sometimes when you take a while to do things, you're like, oh, this is so frustrating. But like, why? You're just taking longer to do it. And then if the next time you do it, you took this long, maybe you actually finish it quicker and you're like, okay, I'm getting sharper. Or maybe you take just as long, and that's fine, relax. But this is a way for you to help out with your time management. So yes, we're gonna leave it at that. Any questions before we hop into the next one? Thoughts, comments, questions, concerns?
Hey, Megan, it's Robin. Thanks so much for this. You know how much I love Notion, but also I haven't been using it. And so this is something that's really helping me like get into a couple of questions. When you said, so on that page, you said, I divided into 3 chunks, and you were like pre-dev, dev, post-dev.
Mm-hmm.
So when it says up at the top, course development part 1, you're just showing us in Notion, this is the first part of this masterclass, and then you broke it down into those 3 chunks. So everything that lives for that project is on that one page, other than the milestone tracker in Notion. Is that correct?
I would do so for that project, this one, digital course launch, the first chunk, or okay, not chunk, let me use a different word. The first piece of the project is actually the ideation, right? So I would have, I'm going to share it again to show exactly what I mean. I would have actually under here, part 1 is actually just because this is part 1 of this masterclass, but we're going to move that. I would do turn this into, remember this, ideation, development, what I say, something like rollout.
Yeah.
And then like management, basically, like management of the course, or like admin management or backend management, or whatever you want to call it. So I would actually have these, and then each of these would be broken into the 3 chunks. And so what we just did was this guy, we're going to turn this into a page, and we're going to actually move all of this. It's going to change up my formatting, but I'll fix it after. It's all good. Come on. This is the fun part of Notion, especially when you're on Zoom. Okay. Cool. Copy it just in case. So this is actually going to be in the development, and we'll get rid of the bulleted list. I can't. Fun fact, you cannot have bulleted lists or anything with Notion. We'll leave it for now. If you have them as a page, which I actually don't really like. Okay, and we'll leave that. So now I'll have everything here. I'll clean up the format after and put it back into columns, but this is how I would organize that project. Like what the course is actually would be right here, digital course development. And we'll say digital course development in Notion. Don't need this anymore. And we don't need this. So each section would have its thing. And then with that, you can get even more complicated. I mean, not complicated, I'm going to say that. You can get more structured within it as you break it down within those chunks. But honestly, how I just did it is how I usually do it. And I'm going to show you a little Notion nerd thing before I ask you what your other questions are. You saw how I said you can't make a numbered list if you have those pages. So how I usually handle that is there we go. Notion, you can change all your icons. So I would just do this.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense now to understand. Like, there's 4 big ones. There's 3 nested within each bigger one. So if you're working on the digital course development, let's say, then and this could be any tool. So if you're creating your milestones, Are you linking your milestones to your bigger calendar? How are you managing your calendar with the milestones of this project?
I wouldn't link how I would do it is I would like how I envision myself working on this course is I see myself saying something like, because I know that I need structure. I want the freedom to make it, but I know that I have to have it. So I think that I'm going to do something like Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday of every week from 2 to 5, I work on the course. And what I would do is I would time block that on my Google Calendar because that's integrated with my Calendly. So no one can book me for that time. And then I would work on it consistently for that time. And I would just say every day I work on, like, it would just say, course creation, whatever. And then every day I would just reference that plan. If I'm on part 2, then every day I would reference part 2 and I'm just working down the list. I don't do things like, on Tuesday, I'm going to do this part of it because there are days where you're not, and that's a lie. And then there are days where you say what you're going to get done and you get more done. And so I just go with the flow. But every day we're just going to reference this list. And because that list is already, again, I go by time, right? The way I outline projects. And that's because I don't have to do that. If I organize my tasks chronologically, what needs to be done before what, I don't have to say what I'm going to do. I can just show up, look at the list, let's dive back in. And that's how I work best. Let's dive back in. Sometimes I will there's a feature in Notion where there's a toggle feature. And so like how I put those 3 different chunks, I'll show you real quick. If this were my project, this is how I would do it because I come off as very calm because I know how to trick myself. I get overwhelmed very easily. And so pre-dev, all this shit right here, this goes here. And that way it's all I'm looking at. So for each section, I would put it into those chunks. And if I'm not on that section, it's closed because I'm not working on that right now. And so that's how I would go about it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. You have another question?
I have 20, but I'm going to hold them.
Let me see if I answer some. And then, you can always, and then we can also stay on. I could talk about this all day. So all good. Okay. Next one is, before I dive in, how long have we been sitting down? 50 minutes. If you need to grab a beverage, I'm opening the next screen, or if you need some more water, go for it.
I do have a question before you move to the next thing.
Tell me.
When you schedule that block of time, are you also accounting for like the days that you really aren't going to want to do anything? Like, is that accounted for with it? Because that's my issue. That's what I'm finding for myself. Like, even with the checklist, the lovely one that you gave me, I'm going through it and I'm like, I don't feel like doing this today. And so I just don't do it, but I know I have it blocked, right? But do you make your, like, I guess, start and end goal with all of that in mind already?
I do, because it depends on, to be honest, it depends on the time of my life. I know that the way that I'm about to set up my lifestyle for this summer, I'm speaking about this course in regards to me. I know that the way I'm about to set up my lifestyle this summer, this is what's going to work because I plan on moving around a little bit. And so I got it when I'm on my nomad life, my backpacker life, I have to have that structure of every day, no matter where you are, because I already know that I can do it. I've worked in bus stations, airports, sides of the road, in dirt, anywhere. I've taught kids online. I can do it. And when I'm moving though, I have to. Now, if I was somewhere stationary, I would say 3 hours a day. And my goal though, is that 3 hours a day would be like the first thing that I do. I'll give myself the flexibility on some days to push it back if I need to. But for the most part, I'm big on like wake up, do my morning routine, get my mind right. That's why a lot of power hours are at 11 a.m. because that's when I start talking to people. And that's how I like to start my day, is like get that hour work done with myself. So I would prefer to beast it out in the morning. And you already know I would incentivize myself to do that through a reward. So every time, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, mind you hear though that I'm saying Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's when I work. Like I don't work outside of those days. If I want to do more, cool, dope, I'm an icon, like I did, and I will do more. I always do. But for the most part, my like hustle days are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because I'm trying to work less than I'm trying to play more than I work really. But that's so yeah, that's what works for me. And so if I'm creating a lifestyle for myself, for me, where Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the only days where I'm absolutely committed to work on this, and that's 9 hours total. Again, I would probably do 2 to 5, 3 hours a day. And then that's 9 hours total. Like, come on, Megan, like you can, you feel me? Like it's 9 hours. Like, so that's why it works for me. And again, you hear, I said a lot of time shit. I'm really, really good with time is how my brain works. So maybe if this doesn't resonate super hard with you, it's because you haven't found your, time is what it is for me. So you got to figure out what it is for you, because that's how you stay consistent. So again, everything I'm showing you today is really to motivate you to find your own. And I'll give you an example of that. I'm working with a client right now. She's a yoga teacher, and she's dropping about different courses and stuff, and different products and offerings or whatever. And she doesn't have my 3 chunks. For her, we do like research and ideation or something like that. Admin. Oh, we actually do 4. Well, admin, marketing, those are the 3. And then we have a 4th one actually with her called outsourcing. This is the only time I have ever said, yeah, you can have a 4th one, is because it's like literally just a checklist of all the things that she doesn't want to do, and that she wants to outsource. And so it's technically not for her. So yeah, and that works for her, because she messages me and she's like, oh my God, something just happened. And I broke it down into my chunks. And because her brain is starting to move in those 3. So you got to find yours. It doesn't mean that mine will work for you. If you don't know yours though, play with mine until you can start to get into your own flow. And again, it just means that everything in your life, you'll start to think about it in chunks.
I like how you said that. You're training your brain, because as soon as you said nomad life, my mind switched into, yep, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm going to work so I can play. I think now because I'm stationary. So that makes sense.
Yes, exactly. Because you're stationary, you're like, I have all day. When you're like, now it's 11 p.m. and no, you don't. So it is kind of the same thing. And when you are stationary, for me, the motivation is that I know I won't be soon. So, all right, what's our next one? Our next one is, let me peep real quick because I outlined it. I wrote, we're gonna do, and you're here for it, perfect. Eco clothing line. And I want to talk about, again, same thing, development versus launch. And so for this one, we did development. Well, for the digital course, we did the development of the course. For the eco clothing line, I want to outline with you all ideation. Just because this is how I've worked with a few, like I've done like few product launches, and products are a very, very different ball game for sure. Especially digital ones in this world, like e-commerce. But I've been a part of different teams where we've had to do this part of it. So I'm like, I got you. What happens after this? Who knows? No, I'm kidding. We're gonna call this. Actually, I would name it the chunk first. Big on naming formations. Also naming, is it naming formations? I forget what it's called, but if whatever you work on, like writing notes from working with me, or if you've received notes from me, I name things very consistently. And so it's the same with colors. Like I use red, yellow, green in the same way for whatever I'm working on. I know that it's like my mental, but I'm also a visual person. But with that, like, especially with naming, whether you're a visual person or not, if you can become consistent with how you approach naming things, it makes it easier for future you to reference whatever it is that you just outlined. Because then again, that's systems, that's structure. And again, everything you're doing, we're just brainwashing ourselves through repetition. That's it. So pick it and stick with it. And that's the other thing, is people try something and they jump around. You even give your brain a chance to like excel, you just try some new method and you're like, it doesn't work. You don't work. So give your brain a chance, stick with something. So for me, everything I do, first chunk, the first piece, all capitals, space, line, and then space. Ready knows if it has like this and you start, I'll be like, nah. Like I need that space in between that first letter. You feel me? We're gonna do ideation, eco-friendly. Boom. And so you already know, got my chunks. We're gonna do this one though. I want to do the ideation. So I know what they're going to be. It's going to be like pre-research, or maybe it's actually going to be pre-ideation. I may change this. Let's see. Pre-ideation, ideation, and then post-ideation. So cool. Yeah, I like those. For this one, we're gonna keep it, we won't put them as columns. We'll keep them stacked and we'll actually put them each on their own page. Command enter. Okay. Then we will do, yo, can you please give me a thumbs up if when you start your forms or your Google Docs or whatever, you're like, no, I gotta clean up. Like I gotta change the font. Why do they even give us Arial? What year is this?
2008.
For real, I can't work under these conditions. So please give me a second. I have to change them. I even like bold, and then this will actually be a header. So we're gonna do maybe like a cute little, actually, we'll stick to our colors. Pre is yellow. That's too bright for us. Pre, and then we'll make it a bit bigger. And then I always update heading 3 to match. And then you can make this heading 3, apply. And we'll make it like green. Nope. Oops, I messed. Red. What are colors? There we go. Do that guy. You can be yellow. Red. And boom. So then this is just going to be our brain dump. So we're like, okay, I have a new dream who this, and I want to create an eco-friendly clothing line. But you're like, all I know about clothes is that I like them and I like to wear them. What do I do now?
Legit, May, that's where I'm at. That's literally it. That's literally, I wear them so much. I want to make them. That is it.
I love it. So basically, you kind of have your why, right?
Literally. I love them. I think that I do a great job of providing them because I wear them so much that I see the gap in what needs to be filled. Like,
Love it. Oh, wait. Okay, perfect. Boom. So you have your why, and whys are so important. And so, because that's dope, because I agree. It's like if you do a certain thing, sometimes you're like, all right, I know I can do better and I got to do this. So what would you do? Here's how I would go about this. Who are my competitors? With that, these two are related. I would say first, actually, who is my target demo? And then say, is it you? Because with a lot of things also, I mean, with anything that you create, it's sometimes it's really hard for me because there are things that I want to do. And I'm like, nah, like I wouldn't care about that. But I have to remind myself that I'm not my target demo. And so whenever you're about to create something, I think it's a great question to ask yourself. It's like, because there are times where you are the target demo. My 420 rolling class, I'm the target demo. But in cases like this project playing Masterclass, I'm not the target demo because I know these things. So ask yourself when you drop something, is it you or is it about someone else? And if it's about someone else, write a profile of who they are so that you can always reference it. So if you say, one of your profiles, so you can do like 1 to 3. 1 to 3 profiles, character profiles. So then when you have a question, when you're like, ooh, should I do like a mauve or like a mustard yellow? Then you can say, okay, 27-year-old Sarah living in Toronto, would she want the mauve or would she want the mustard yellow? And so you can just save time with your questions that you're inevitably going to ask yourself, because you can just look at these people and ask imaginary Sarah which color she would like. And then if you want to take it a step further, for each customer profile, because it's a digital age, categorize your email list or IG followers, pull them, right? So if you say Sarah is a 37-year-old female living on the West Coast of America, or like she's between the ages of 35 and 44, then you can pull your list or your subscribers and categorize them by everyone who matches that, and then ask them, do you want mauve or do you want the mustard yellow? Boom, question answered. Data rules everything around me. dream. Oh my God. I gotta write that down. What?
That's so dope. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I just got it.
Right? Because me, I'm a dreamer and I love data. Sorry, guys. Hold on. I'm like, woo! Game
Get a bit
changer.
hot in here.
Right? That's about to be part of the eco-friendly clothing line. That's a shirt.
Brooklyn. I'll give you a percentage of everything that sells.
99%.
Was basically.
Target demo, who are the competitors? So then from there, your competitors, you're like, all right, who are your competitors? Who do your competitors, what's that called? I'll say produce with.
Their suppliers.
Right, we're gonna say, oh, true. Who are their suppliers? Who are their suppliers and what's their supply chain? So then you can, do you want to mimic it or take or replicate pieces of it? Then, cool. Then I will start to schmooze. We're gonna call this like schmooze. Slide in, schmooze. To schmooze, I would, let's do some bullets. Again, we're gonna organize these in a second. I would slide in all the DMs and start there are a few ways I would slide in DMs. I would go to competitors, their biggest fan. Alternatively, I would go to competitors with constructive feedback. Or I would go to competitors for advice. Now, there are obviously strategic ways to go about this because you can't just go to someone's DMs, or at least not mine, and be like, hey, I have a question. Can I ask you? Absolutely not. Leave me alone. So you're schmoozing, right? But these are great ways because even with the advice part, you can be like, not this. No, I'm not even gonna say that example because that one makes me angry. Okay, you're down to 2 suppliers and you're like, one is based here and here are the pros and cons. And then the other supplier is based here. Here are the pros and cons. I really admire your work. I so admire all the things you've been able to accomplish. And if you have the time, I would love to know what you would do in this situation. Boom. So I would go to them for those type of things. And then on the one hand, you're boosting egos, yum. And then on the other hand, you are getting advice from someone whose information you value. And again, but do this genuinely, do this authentically. Don't go to people if you don't actually admire them, because then we're not out here to be fake. That's not cute. So slide in all the DMs. Then we can also slide it because we're schmoozing and we're researching here, right? And we have so many people at our fingertips, and you have a great following.
Ideation as well.
What's up? Someone said something.
Sorry, I was trying to remember what I was summing up what you said, but I was talking to myself and then my book pressed the space bar. My bad.
Whole chain of events.
So ignore me.
Deal. So you also have a huge following. Go to your followers. Go to your followers by go to your competitors' pages. See who you have in common. Both followers and following. And then we can go more in depth about this, about what the get strategic is, but it will be in the same regard as like, instead of not just like go to your competitors, go to them as your biggest fan, go with feedback, Same thing. So as questions come up, again, as you're able to like categorize, you have 3 profiles and one of your followers is this, you can ask them those questions. And then also you're building hype as you become more involved in it and you start to involve people in the process, then they'll get super hype about it. And then you're getting loyal customers as well. At the same time, what time is it? 1:07. I'll include this in the actual outline, this actual template, because then everything I just said here about, this is like the clothing line part, or you can say, this is about eco-friendly clothing lines. So think of this as, this is eco-friendly, people who already have eco-friendly clothing lines. This part of the research, we don't even really have to schmooze that much. This is the eco side, because if I legit wanted to have an eco-friendly clothing line, sustainable clothing line, I wouldn't just go to people who have them, because who even knows what they're saying is true. I would actually environmentalists. So then I would slide in their DMs the same way, or slide in their DMs, or, you know, find organizations and email them directly. You can find orgs in your area, or you can find some organizations based where potential suppliers are. Because then you can confirm through the actual locations where those suppliers are, whether or not that's even an eco-friendly place to, like a sustainable location to even make the products, right? We don't know if that's true either. And then from there, because even with the suppliers, how do they pay their workers? With eco-friendly clothing lines, it's like you really, really got to do a lot of research, right, on the back end. And so we're pushing toward our end. So I don't want to, again, I'm going to outline more of this for you. It's all of the research things. It's all the research things. So you want to do a brain dump on all tasks involved in researching the creation. And notice I say the creation of the brand. I'm not even, because there's so many things with supply chain as well, right? But the main focus is the eco-friendly part. And so without that, you kind of don't even really have to, you can start to twinkle around or ask people their feedback about the supply, but you kind of don't even have to really dive that much into it, because through researching the eco-friendly part, the environmentally friendly part, you're going to then dwindle down the list of potential suppliers. You feel me? So I wouldn't even really start with suppliers. I would really research, like how I said, go to the competitors and ask them how they've been able to do this. Really start researching competitors. Like you're a Dateline reporter. Do you have Dateline in the UK? I don't know, but we do. We grew up with Dateline. So you're an investigator and you're like, are they really eco-friendly? Because also that's going to happen to you, right? If you're a legit eco-friendly company, then people are going to do the same thing to you, and they should be able to do that and come out. So you should be able to do that and come out squeaky clean. So you need to, so you can even, look for some, look for those people, look for eco investigators. They got to exist. And then ask them to, get strategic with their questions, because then people get hyped to answer them, because they're like, oh, they really thought about this. How, or like, what do I look for to know a company is eco-sustainable, say economically, not economically, environmentally. So I mean, and economically too, right? All the things. Gosh, what are words? What is English? I knew I didn't, come on. Where do you even start? And this is when I love projects like this, because this is when your homework is fun. Your homework is like, watch YouTube docs. If you don't do that already, you got to start watching like mad YouTube documentaries. You got to start you got to watch all the documentaries on watch docs on eco failures throughout the world. There's a lot of shit going on right now with H&M in China. And basically H&M is banned from all, H&M does not exist in China on the web. They're losing their leases, they're losing all these, and it's not necessarily eco-friendly related, but it is because it relates to worker wages. And basically the Chinese are pissed about H&M blowing up their spot about their labor laws and illegal labor in camps. So those are things you gotta be up on, right? So that's fun homework, because then you just, roll a joint, watch all the documentaries, live the dream. And then you just gain knowledge through it. So again, I'm gonna add more to this and send it to you specifically, and I'll make it generic for everyone else, but I have other things. And then if you want, we can talk about it more. But this already is so much for you to get started. Like just start.
Thank you.
Pleasure, always. All right. So again, I'm gonna clean this up and give this to you guys as another example in Google Docs. Last one we're gonna do In fact, anything you want in Google, well, most things like doc.new, if you want a new doc, and then spreadsheet.new if you want a new spreadsheet. There are other ones that I don't remember. This one, we're gonna call it, okay, so we're doing a move from, we'll say the States or from anywhere, but we'll say the States because I'm American and that's what I know, to Mexico. And so what would I do? Or I guess, oh my gosh, I already did it. What did I do accidentally when I accidentally moved to Mexico? So let's call it, we'll call it, it's gonna be the move to Mexico. And this is gonna be, what I'm gonna do, move, and then like Mexico. And let's say I'm gonna do this in, so different ways you can do it. You could do a sheet for each piece of the move, blah, blah, blah. I think I'm actually, yeah, I'm gonna put, it won't be too crazy. So I'm gonna put it all here. One sec, let me peep the chat. Oh, I think I love you. Okay. So we're gonna do, how do I want to organize this? I purposely, I was gonna make these templates and I was like, no. I want you to see like how I, because sometimes it's like with Notion, for example, and I'm so used to it now, I'm like, boom, 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 boom. And then with spreadsheets, sometimes, I mean, I love Google spreadsheets, especially because there's so many ways to organize the information. And the main thing is like, what's important to you. So actually, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do one sec. Bye, you guys. Pre-move. Move. Post-move. This is gonna say done. And then do task name. Actually, yeah, we'll do task name over here. No. Task name, where does it fall? Notes always. Notes always. What's the task? When does it fall? Pre-move, move, post-move. What are the notes? And then, okay, so for example, when I give someone a task that's on my team, when I create the task in Notion, I have this like drop down of like tools needed. So, you know, Notion, do they need Squarespace, whatever? Because then again, we're trying to set people up for success. And I'd rather than you guess where I want you to do this, I'm just going to tell you straight up. And so with the move, it wouldn't really be tools, but it would be something like, I don't know. So we could even just say needed, you know, because then it's like, what if you actually need movers, or what if you need, we'll say actually supplies needed, and we'll move notes. If I can I? Supplies needed, people needed. What else? I think that's it. So now let's clean it up. This can be small, you can be bigger. These can be smaller. Notes. Dope, cool. And then center, middle, wrap, and it's gray. And then we will do really though, because those are different. Boom. And then we're gonna insert checkbox, copy, Command Shift, down button, paste it, Command, and then plus the arrow takes wherever you want to go. And actually, we're gonna just take this whole thing and do the same. I mean, I don't think you'll have 1,000 tasks to move to Mexico. I hope not. In that case, don't move. So the only time I'll say stay put. Okay, boom. So Yes, I love this. I'm with it. Let's change this color. I'm so like anal about some things. Like I can't get started until the color is just it fits me right now. So you have your task. The reason why this one, it's so much easier really to like visualize, right? And again, we're going to go about this chronologically. And so I know that like I can just go down the list and check things off. But also if you're about to move somewhere, you can pretty much only do the pre-move part. It's actually even better because you can really only do the pre-move part because you're not there. So your location is what makes your chunks, which is dope. Fewer things that you can control. And so the reason why I have these here is because as we check them off, we're going to sort the columns by everything pre-move first, everything move first, everything post-move. And then that way you don't, again, you can't even look at the future because it doesn't exist. So if I were to move to Mexico, what did I have to do? Well, this has been set up since like 89, but Google Voice. And then I changed all my important contacts to voice number. And that's so like my bank, everything. I mean, yeah, like all my subscriptions, they have my Google Voice number, not my cell number. Right. Same with, I gotta confirm. Like for me, it was like change my address to my mom's important shit. Okay, I don't know what be formal. Sometimes I really do write how I speak, but all important things. And
I'm
same.
over here smiling because I'm like crushing it.
I would be doing the same thing. It's like I already did these. So you change your address on all the important things. Cool. You set up your Google Voice. Those are official things. In my case, I kept my T-Mobile plan, but you could, we'll say just in case, suspend/pause mobile plan. Then you could just get a SIM card here. Cancel unnecessary subscriptions, right? I guess, I don't do this, but people do. Budget for the move. I don't believe in the word budget, but budget for the move. Then you gotta, the fun part, you gotta purge. You're gonna separate them by donate. And then you gotta purge again. Honestly, I do this like every step, move. And then like I mean, really, I would do this. Like it would apply to all of them. And that's because like when I'm about to move somewhere, I purge, I pack all my things, right? I'm purging, but I don't actually pack them. I put them in the room, like I separate everything, purge as I do that. Then as they're getting packed, more things are coming, now you don't really need that. Then I get somewhere and I'm like, why did you bring this? Why did you bring 3 blank passion planner dailies, Megan? You did not need them right now. And so then in some cases you can get to a place where like in Mexico people visit. Like some of my friends are here from my hometown. So when they go back, they don't know it yet, but they bring some things to my mom. And so they're gonna take more things from me, right? So all the time I'm constantly figuring out what else I can get rid of. And so I can buy more clothes because goals. So purge your things. I want to keep that one there, and then we'll do it here. We'll do it in just a move. What else have I done? So, depends on your bank. Actually, you probably don't have to do this for Mexico. Fun fact: I haven't had any issues with my banks here, but technically, tell your bank that you're leaving. With that, I'm sure that you have several backups for cash. I always have $100 hidden on me in American cash. It's taken everywhere. and it's taken everywhere. And so right now, where is it? I think right now it's in my underwear drawer, but there's always $100 of American cash around me. Don't look at my underwear drawer for my money though. What else? You're gonna flights research. You're gonna research a new place, research a new home. And then with that though, everywhere I go, I book an Airbnb for like a week at least. You don't want to commit to an apartment before you get there. Foolish. Book an Airbnb for a week and then join the deadly Facebook groups that are so annoying but so necessary when you move somewhere. And then you just leave them later, but they really are necessary. That location, in this case, like I'm Black, so I would do Black in, I'm Black, did you know? As I announce it. I would do Black in location name because I want to know what the vibe is for people who look like me, because I have been to many places where the vibe ain't that cool. And so it's something that I usually will, unfortunately, have to get a heads up on. It's the same as if I identified as queer, I would do some research first to ensure that I'm about to go to that place, or go to that place safely. And then with that, you know, do I need anything for safety? I travel with a knife. Right now I'm getting one of those Amazon things, those door lockers, because I realized that's something that I would feel more comfortable traveling with as a woman. Do I need anything for safety? And then, this is my favorite part, is like, you gotta make a list of things to order. This is pre-move. So like I organize my list by merchant. So I would do like Amazon, Target, etc. Because I like, you gotta stock up on skincare products, hair care products, all those things. Yeah, oh my gosh, all of them. I would confirm that I have skincare, because again, as a Black woman, I can't just roll up into certain countries and think that there's going to be hair products for me.
Check your passport to make sure that it's going to be valid 6 months after
You're
going to come back.
Check passport validity for 6 months post return date. Love it. Love that. What else? This is all we're gonna do.
Visas and visa dates too.
The visa needed. So that I would do, if so, outline a quick visa plan. What's the visa plan? What are my chunks? Pre-visa, visa, post-visa. Pre-visa, what's the application? Visa, do I need to go in person? Can I do everything online? How much does it cost? Cool, pay that shit. Post-visa, how do I manage it? Do I need to follow up? Is it Thailand? Do I have to go every 2 or 3 months to go, redo it? Train your brain, choose your chunks. We'll do this as pre-flights. This will be actually, I'm going to put that in the move, because once I start moving is when I travel, I have a day backpack, and then I have this like hidden pocket, and that's where the money always goes. And several backups for cash, like all the debit cards, all the credit cards. Maybe you have a debit card for your checking and then an ATM card for your savings. But either way, I would say at least I would have 4. I think that's how many I have right now, is 4 different cards.
As someone that doesn't eat meat, food is very important to me. I need to check if somewhere is like vegan friendly, or I could survive.
Great. I would say something like research the plant-based scene.
Yeah, because a little bit of a struggle, but not too bad. In Playa, it was not too bad.
I actually have never done that, and I've been vegetarian for 12 years. I just roll up. Really? Yeah. Listen, there's salad and French fries everywhere. There's lentils. I'll make it work.
I get angry. Guys don't know how to cook vegetables.
They don't. It's real.
That's allergy friendly as well. That's something to
Oh.
consider because I have a gluten allergy.
Because I do know that there's certain cultures which cook quite a lot with peanut sauces and stuff like that. With someone who travels and has a peanut allergy but doesn't realize that I've gone to a place which largely cooks with peanut sauces, you're finished.
I'm like, now I'm like, anything else with food?
You have to eat.
Right. This is
Water, 9 out of 10, you can't drink tap water. You have to make sure you've got like a supplier if you're gonna stay there with the water.
like a water plan. See, these are things that I have never considered. How do you get water? I think it's because Americans are, well, like not just Americans, so many of us Westerners are so privileged to just have water on tap, but I don't usually travel to those places. So I just assume that I'll have to buy water and then I just don't think about it. I honestly can't tell you the last time I went somewhere that did have tap water other than America. We're gonna do this with the move. We're gonna do this here. And then we're gonna do this pre-move budget. We're gonna do this with the move because you would suspend your plan once you got there if you wanted to. Oh, I know what I do research like a true American. What's the Wi-Fi scene though? What's the situation? Because, woo, let me tell you, 3 months into Loom, it looks cute on Instagram. It's a lie because you can't work there.
You cannot.
Impossible. So what else? You move. Okay, so then you need your apartment plan, right? Well, then you have to apartment hunt. I would do that on the ground. Always, always, always. Don't ever, 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 ever pay for an apartment before you get there. Unless, I was gonna say never. Never, because then also a big part of this for me is speed test on my phone. Like the app is already on my phone. Speed test to check each apartment's Wi-Fi. So once I'm there in the living room, I connect to it and I check it just to confirm. And I usually will bring a few devices with me just to confirm. I mean, you could, in theory, like, again, this isn't something that I would do, but you could research like what's the safety situation. I would say what's the safety situation and do laws exist, because they don't in many places. They're there, but they're just a suggestion. Post move, things like, for me, I have a homie who, who's checking your mail. Who's checking your mail? Who does your taxes? I don't do my own anymore. I have someone at home doing that. Who keeps up with, if you are a small business owner, for me, again, the same person, she keeps up with like my business mail, my business affairs, my LLC filing, all that stuff. Like, when do I have to file things? Because there are so many things that are so antiquated, so many antiquated processes, especially at home, and you're getting mail for these things and you're not actually getting any type of email communications. And so if someone isn't consistently checking your mail, then that they really control all the power. So make sure that whoever your mail is getting sent to is going to someone who is going to be on it. In my case, it's one of my best friends and my mom. This one, you can figure out taxes after, and you can figure that out after if you had to, but it would be nice if you can do it beforehand. What else do I have to keep up from here? Technically, like in some places I've been, follow up with my bank, just like maybe just to reconfirm, I'm here. What's your healthcare plan? This is something that I would figure out pre-move. So if I'm traveling somewhere like Mexico, for example, I just like whatever. It's so affordable. Like, I'll do it here. The only time I had travel insurance is when I worked for someone and they were paying for it. Because everywhere outside of, for me anyway, coming from the States, everything is so much more affordable without insurance than it is there with insurance. But things like doctor's appointments or like the eye doctor, those are things that I always do at home. I have my medication sent to friends before they come down here because my medications cost, honestly, for a month, probably like $12 at the pharmacy here. But if I can get it for free, then why not? But if I can't, it doesn't matter. So things like that, figure out, medication plan. Do you need medications? And if so, how are you going to maintain your supply? So for like, again, there are so many things here that you can buy, but some people do take Adderall every day. Here at the pharmacies, you kind of like, it's Mexico. So yes, you can buy Adderall, you can buy whatever you want, but you do have to hunt for it because technically it's like most pharmacies don't do it. So if you have any type of anything, inhalers here are like $5, but I do have to get them like at least once a month. So what's your plan going to be? And lastly, just to highlight, I would say tech. And you could say something like, what's your tech supply? Like I said earlier, I am a consumer. I'm such a millennial. I have so many devices. But with that, that means if you are moving, for example, like when I'm backpacking, I have a system. Well, you already know I have a system. You already know I got a packing system. But how do you pack your tech? You feel me? Where does your tech go? It's like when you are especially on the road, you can't just buy a new piece of tech and be like, cool, no problem. You got to figure out where it's going to go because you can't just put it in your checks bag. That means you have to have it in your backpack. That means you could end up with a bunch of pounds on your back. Now you have back pain, all because you wanted to get a new iPad or a laptop stand. So you really have to be strategic about what you want to bring with you and how you're going to pack it safely. And if you're Megan, I have a very clear way of how I get through airport security. So you also have to consider the bag that you travel with, how you can quickly access your things, how you can quickly, even your backpack type. I used to have a backpack where the airport people would always like break the straps. Now I have an Osprey in the back, the straps tuck in, they zip around so no one can actually break the back. And then, these are just things to start to think about. And I'll say like, how can you set yourself up to move efficiently and quickly? And preferably pain-free. So those would be mine. And honestly, I think that's really it for me. I don't know, Mad people if you have other ones, but that's pretty much mine.
With your visas, do you plan your round trip from when you move? Because I know Mexico's like every 3 to 6 months you have to leave or something like that.
I only buy one-way tickets because I don't know what. And Mexico, we have 6 months, and because of COVID, you can roll up to immigration. There's one in Playa, and you can extend for free because you can just basically, since the states are the epicenter, it's like I don't feel safe going there, and just with all the political relations and everything, and they let you extend for free. So I have friends who have been here for like over a year with the visa. That's no problem. So yeah, it depends on where you go. But I never, even in Asia, when you had to show proof of your flight out, I forged them.
Oh yeah, there's an app for that. I used that when I went to Asia as well. So
same vibes, you know the vibes. Can't book a flight, cancel it within 24 hours, do what you gotta do, but they don't ask. Follow up with your bank. We're gonna say this is post move. And we did put confirmed visa though. But that's me. For my personal life plan, a round trip flight doesn't even make sense. I don't even know what I'm doing next Tuesday, let alone the next 6 months. But if that does fit your lifestyle, then obviously do you. So lastly, before we go, we're gonna sort these and we're gonna sort the range. We're gonna do first, yes, the data has a header row. We're gonna do pre-move first, then the move, perfect. Don't come back. Pre-move, move, post-move, perfect. And then this should give us, oh man, it's backwards. Sort range, header row, pre-move, move, post-move. There we go. So now you have it like this. And then also, I'm big on filters. So you can create a filter. And then if you just, you don't want to, again, right, I told you how I like to focus on one thing at a time. I could just say, I'm really not trying to see anything that has to do with the move right now. Oh no, that's all the move. I wish I remembered which one I hit. False. Weed brain in action in real life. There we go. And then you would only see everything to do with the pre-move or everything to do with, yeah, but there we go, just a pre-move. So you can do it as you wish, but when I used to move this, I would do it with that just as a last piece. When I was moving, like when I moved to Mexico from Providence, I made a Google spreadsheet, and I still have the template. Actually, I'll send it to you because I started sharing it with other people who are moving because of the pandemic. And I made a list of everything that was selling, the price, no negotiations. This is the price, leave me alone. And then the different methods that you could send me the money as a drop down. And then I had my friends, and they could just, and then like person who's taking it. I shared the spreadsheet with everyone who lived in my area. And then they just wrote in their name if they wanted it, how they were going to send the money. They sent me the money. I had a paid checkbox. So once they paid, they checked the box and they picked it up before the weekend before I left. Boom. I did minimal work, no following up with people. And then I made like $300 off of selling, maybe like close to 500 actually, for selling my things. So don't be afraid to let things go, sell them. They are things, even though I'm the biggest consumer, but I really am a minimalist. It's a great balance. So
you just made that so easy. Oh my God. That was literally where my brain is at right now. It's like, how do I get rid of all of these things?
You gotta get rid of them. That's it. They don't care. They are things. They like, yeah, let it go. Let it go. Oh, Ashley, thank you. Please don't make me emotional right now. They officially removed the options from, wait, so that mean that you couldn't confirm, or that you don't have to?
So I just was in Sayulita for 2 months, and I'm going back on Tuesday, and I've been calling the banks, and they're like, yeah, we no longer do that with anything in North America. We just send you alerts on your phone now for Bank of America and Wells Fargo.
Okay, that makes sense. And so, I mean, Mexico is really an extension of America at the end of the day. That's what it feels like anyway, being here. Because it's like, no, you're not, guys. You're so much better than this, but whatever. We're not going to get into it. At least they have us here. I love it here. And actually with that as a last piece, since it is, the times that we're living in, research COVID restrictions, research COVID restrictions, and, research like COVID safety measures. And maybe also like you can research, what the tourism vibe is. Like right now it's getting a bit crazy. Or like the vibe / what season is it? Because that, let me tell you, I said all those things that I don't really check. Something that I try to check is what season is it? Because I have rolled up so many places thinking like, we're about to lay on the beach. It's rainy season. I went to Athens in January and was like, I can't wait to go to Santorini. Oh, Megan. I went to Oslo and was like, oh my gosh, we're going to drive like an hour and go see the Northern Lights. No, you're not. It's a road trip in the ice. So I lied to myself a lot. So that's my biggest takeaway is research this season. I'll probably do it again though. And that's it. Do you have any last questions? How do you feel? Do you feel like you learned things? I'm going to clean up everything we just did, so you'll have it as an example, or make your own. Of course, always make your own.
As usual, this was amazing. Like I feel, this last checklist is for me in my head. So, so I feel like it's doable, and I just have to train my brain. The retraining of my brain is the biggest part of this, but I appreciate you.
I appreciate you for being here. I'm so happy that you took something, because I, as someone who, again, I am an overthinker. I look so chill. It's because I have trained myself to be chill. It takes work to be here. And I just think maybe in 10 years, I could have kids and still have to do this shit with children. So I gotta keep it together now. Actually, there are apps called, you can search like speed test. There are also different websites, but it's better if you do it with the app. And then when you go somewhere, if you go to, maybe you're about to hop on a Zoom call and you're at a cafe and you're like, is it going to be good enough? You can check real quick before you sit down. So those are different ways that I use it, but especially with apartments, because even if they show you a screenshot, they could be lying, right? So no chances. And I'm happy you feel better because you got this. You got this. All right. Well, holler at me if you have any other questions. Robin, if you have anything that comes to mind, talk to me, holler at me. I love that all of you were on here for your things, which was worked out perfectly.
Yeah. Thank you. The Notion was really helpful.
Yay. I will finish the templates one day. Probably when I have a big announcement coming in. I think after that announcement, things will slow down. No, they will. But yeah, all right. Stay dope. Happy Saturday. Thank you for chilling with me on a Saturday afternoon. This is my dream. I get to talk about project planning on a Saturday with people I like. Oh, nerd dreams come true. Yeah, just thank you. Thank you for being here.
For always inspiring us. You're such amazing inspiration and you lift us all up, whether it's these or Instagram. Like you always like make me so excited to do better.
That makes me so happy because I really do have fun doing it because it's all on your own terms. You are the ruler here. Fuck the rest. It's all about you. And so, yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. I'll keep doing it. I'll keep falling in your honor. Dope. Well, I'll see you on Instagram. I have some other fun things in this regard coming. If you need help with more project planning stuff, I'm about to launch like a project plan, do it for you type of situation. It'll be like $10. We have interns. I have 4 interns right now, and one of them is super into business admin stuff, and she's so motivated. She's in Greece. She's so cute, and so Rennie and I are like basically putting her through project plan boot camp. And so she'll draft it, Rennie will check it, and then I'll check it. So it'll be touched many times. It's only $10. And we just want to get them into the habit of like working for themselves. I want them all to be boss ass women that make bank. And so I'm kind of training them. Shocker, right? So if you do need help, please let me know.
Thanks, Megan.
My pleasure. Bye, homie.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.